Yeah, we could just watch the drone. Here, let's go back to the drone footage. All right, guys, let's go back to this. Let's start over. Okay, this is Eric Allen. He's been making documentaries about Alex Murdaugh and his family. And there's been a couple of episodes out on his YouTube channel. So we're going to watch this really quick. I have it like super sped up, but I'll do 1.5.
I'm in the Netflix documentary about the Murdaughs. If you've seen it, you've seen me show footage I got of Alec Murdaugh's brother and son carrying guns out of the home immediately following a search warrant that was performed at Moselle. The
Which
property
brother
that
is
Maddie
that?
and Paul were murdered on. The guns used to kill them are still currently missing. I got a lot more footage that day than what Netflix showed in their documentary, so I'll be splicing some of that never-before-seen footage throughout this video. I'm actually filming this a day before the documentary comes out. I'm in my mobile studio right outside of the courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina. Trial's on a lunch break right now, and I wanted to take a few moments to give some expanded thoughts on...
Oh, wow. So this is the property right here. Oh, there's a little carts over there, little golf carts, whatever they're called.
What I think about that gun footage that was in the
ATVs.
Netflix documentary. I actually haven't seen the Netflix documentary, so I don't really quite know exactly how everything's going to be presented.
Oh, man, dude.
And how, like, where it's going to fit in and how it's going to be tied in. So,
Man, do you think they were trying to do the cover up from the
I don't really
get-go?
know, you know, if they're going to make it seem really, really nefarious, or if they're going to kind of portray it in the more like, we really don't know, this is what it is, which is kind of how I wanted it to be presented. I actually didn't know I was getting gun footage when I got it. Another reporter had come over and talked to me about kind of like what was going on, and I was making my way over to the house. As we started talking, I just kind of stopped the drone and let it hover for a little bit, and it wasn't until later that I actually saw the footage. But when I saw the footage, I wrestled a lot with what to do with it. There was, I think I've always believed, and really still do believe, that it's pretty unlikely that that was anything nefarious going on. And at the time, I knew that if I put it out, it would probably be taken as, hey, this is pretty nefarious, hey, this is Buster and John
Before the guns were unloaded from the house, a few other vehicles left.
Marvin helping Alec hide the murder weapons or the guns or something like that. And, you know, at that time we had a lot less information. And at that time, there was a thought in my mind that what if Buster, who had just lost his mom and his brother, what if John Marvin was just taking him on a hunting trip, and they were trying to get away from all this crazy mess, and now I'm going to be here putting out this footage that just causes them more stress and drama, and that just felt icky to me. But on the other hand, there's part of me that's like, well, what if this actually is evidence that could help in these murders, that could
did he
help
give it to the police?
Sled, or that could help whoever. And so I went back and forth on it for a long time. Sometimes when I don't know what decision to make, I will just go with default inaction.
Yeah, because by this point, I think law enforcement had already been on the property and they already combed through, right? Visually eyeballing things.
And that's just kind of what I did. It's just like, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything. I'm going to let this sit on my hard drive, and it'll probably just die there. Fast forward 8 months, and through those 8 months, I would think about it every once in a while. As we were getting closer to a potential trial, there was still always that in the back of my mind. What if it means something? What if it is significant? And so anyways, the production company making the Netflix documentary reached out to license some of my drone footage. Long story short, they ended up emailing me and said, hey, we're coming to town to shoot some more things. We'd love to hire you as our drone operator while we're in town. So really cool opportunity. Really glad I got to do that. While I was there, to pause for a second, I didn't want to upload this footage anywhere to show.
Oh, wait. Wow, that's a long drive to get there. There's the kennels right there.
Anyone. I didn't want to, upload it to a Dropbox account and then email
Or is this the kennels?
someone and say, hey, take a look at this.
No, I think where the fuck are the kennels?
Does this mean something? Uploading it somewhere, I just felt like there was a big risk of it just leaking.
Oh, right here, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so here we go. This is where, can I zoom in on that? This one? No. This one? No. Oh my God, all my zooms are okay. All right, guys, just squint your eyes a little bit. So this is the doghouse. Maggie was found right here. And then, yeah, she was found right here around. And then Paul was found right here. This is where the feed room kennel was, over here.
And getting out, and then
Damn, it's huge. Yo, let's look at the drive really quick. Hold on. Let's look at the drive. I'm going to speed through this. I'm going to speed times 2, and I'll meet it real quick. But this is them leaving Moselle, right? Their house. Driving down the road. Still driving down. Make a left turn. And these are the trees that they were talking about. So defense was like, the trees may have blocked the sound from the gunshot coming towards the house. And then the state was like, well, this was like a couple years ago. The trees weren't grown as much by then. I don't know. What date is that footage? I think he said it was the day after the murders happened. Yeah, that's a long drive. Oh wait, I was like, what's that noise? I have to separate now. I was like, what is that noise in the background?
Out, and then I want to be really careful with this. I didn't do that. And so I was at the Netflix shoot and thought to myself, this might be a good opportunity to show someone this footage that has also done a ton of research into these events. I thought to myself, I've got this piece of information, this gun footage, which on its own, we don't really know what it means. Maybe they have some information that I don't have that could either confirm that it is or isn't nefarious. And then we can kind of put it to rest. They might have information that says, hey, yeah, we do have info that SLED returned all the guns that they had taken from them initially because they had done all their testing and they were giving them back on that day. This footage doesn't mean anything. Or they might have information saying, hey, SLED, was at the house looking for guns and they didn't find any. And so you have footage of them leaving, and now the Murdaughs are taking these guns off the property. Maybe, they had hid them really well, and now they were getting them off the property. Whatever. But maybe they have information that can provide more context to this gun footage that I have. So I showed it to them, and they didn't. And so I was kind of back at square one, but they obviously wanted the footage. And so was kind of back at debating, is this...
Yeah, there's a kennel right there, and that's where the door of the feed room where Paul was shot.
Footage that needs to be out there or not. But the first thing was, I don't want to look back after this trial is over and know that maybe I had a piece of information that was pertinent, that could have brought justice to Maggie and Paul, that could have, really aided in this investigation and put the killer behind bars. If even if there's only a 1% chance that footage could have done that, if I just keep it to myself and don't do anything with it, that would be wrong. I'm going to be completely honest, and I tried really hard not to have this second factor be a factor. And I hope that it wasn't, but it's hard to say, honestly, even when I reflect on myself. Having this footage in the Netflix documentary would mean that I'm even more part of this Netflix documentary and potentially even in it. And so I really tried to push that second one aside and go, okay, is this first reason enough on its own to include this footage? And
yeah, I think if you're to calculate the Moselle house directly, not like doing like this, but directly to the kennels, it was like 0.2 miles.
Ultimately came to the conclusion that it was. Now, let me back up for a second and
yeah,
talk about
I
why
think you
I
drove the
didn't
golf
just
cart
send
too.
this footage to SLED.
Like back and forth.
So there's two possibilities of what could have happened.
But the other thing is he could have driven Paul's car down as well. But yeah.
If taking the guns out of the home was nefarious. Possibility number one,
What is up with OBS?
the Murdaughs hid the guns, SLED came, searched the house, didn't find any guns. The Murdaughs retrieved them from their hiding spot and took them away from the house, on that day. Or two, if this was nefarious, this is the second possibility. SLED knew the guns were there. They were looking for them, but because of the Murdaughs' connections with SLED, SLED allowed them, or the particular agents that were there that day, allowed them to take the guns off the house after they left and said, hey, we didn't find any guns. Again, I thought at the time and still think now, both of those are very, very unlikely. But there's still a possibility. I didn't know. And so if I had sent this footage to SLED and SLED was involved in doing something that wasn't right, then essentially, this sounds ridiculous, and I know it does. But I didn't want to be put at risk. I didn't want to be in danger from that. If they know that I've got this footage, no one else knows this footage is out there, and it could implicate SLED and the Murdaughs in something even bigger. So, and in my mind, there was a 0.5% chance that was the case. But when you're dealing with stakes that are life and death, 0.5% is not a risk that I want to take. It's just not. So I was thinking about all these kind of different factors.
Ragtime.
And ultimately, I knew that if this came out in a Netflix documentary that everyone saw, then that gives me some level of protection, because now it's just out there. There's no use in doing anything to me. Everyone knows I'm the one that got it. So if I mysteriously was, offed or whatever, it was just out there. So ultimately decided, I want to be careful with how it's presented in the documentary. Those were kind of my stipulations. I wanted it to be well known that this might be nothing, that we don't really know what this is, but that it did seem odd. Also, kind of side note.
He's just going through all the scenarios that could have happened.
It was about 8 months between I got that footage and when I first showed it to Netflix, and that was months and months before the trial happened. But during those 8 months, I actually did show that footage to 2 different law enforcement officers.
Yeah, I was like, did he give to SLED?
Was former law enforcement and was actually a part of SLED, and they told me that the Murdaughs did have connections with SLED, and that they had even been invited with other SLED agents out to the home for a shooting day or a barbecue or something like that. And
the invite was years before the murders.
they said that they didn't go, but they said that happened. So, that just kind of bolstered the small possibility that this was nefarious and the SLED was involved, and that if I just only sent this to SLED, then that could potentially put me at risk. So yeah, ultimately made a decision to have it included in the Netflix documentary, and then My hope was that the Netflix documentary would come out long before the trial ever started, which just didn't happen. Essentially, a few months after I had shot with Netflix and showed them that
Yeah, I
footage,
was thinking, did Netflix wait until like the trial was happening, because that would be like the height of like where there's like all eyes on the trial, because they released a Netflix doc right in the middle of the trial.
I started working with the Luna Shark Productions team, David Moses, Mandy Matney, Liz Farrell, Eric Bland, that whole crew. And,
What if they like purposely calculated
showed
that?
David the footage, and they kind of agreed with me that it's not likely that this was anything nefarious, but they recommended that at that point we knew that Creighton Waters was going to be the prosecutor, and so they recommended, hey, send an email to Creighton's assistant, since it's looking like the Netflix documentary is not going to be out in time, and then you can know that the prosecution has that information if they need it. So I did do that, and they never responded, but at least I knew I gave them the opportunity to have it if they needed it. Lastly, so
Could not see it? He didn't check his email?
Kind of closer to
Was it in spam?
when I got that gun footage, before I had ever talked to Netflix or anything like that, when I was still wrestling with what to do with it, I did reach out to John Marvin Murdaugh. Now, I didn't reach out and say, hey, I've got footage of you and Buster carrying guns out of the house. What does this mean? I just wasn't going to do that.
That'd be a weird
just
conversation.
Let them know that I had this footage. I did just ask, hey, I'm working on this project. I've got a few videos out on this whole saga. I've tried to be really impartial and really fair, and I'd really love to hear your perspective on this. I messaged him on Facebook and didn't hear anything back, which is understandable. He has no obligation to speak with me, and then also reached out, living in the same area, we have a mutual friend, and so I reached out to a mutual acquaintance of ours, and who did message him directly on his cell phone. And long story short, the meeting never ended up happening, but my hope was that I could potentially, I hadn't really made up my mind with how I was going to do it yet, but bring up that footage and see if he had an explanation for it, and give him an opportunity to say, hey, it was just this, or it was just that. But never had that opportunity to do that. But I tried. So if you're not subscribed yet, I'd be honored if you hit that subscribe button. This is actually the first video that I've done that's kind of lower quality, that's not super highly produced. I am working on a highly produced episode 9 to the Murdaugh series, but I'm considering doing a few more relaxed videos like this one. Maybe one where I give some commentary about what I felt the Netflix documentary did well and got right.
All right, what was the date? Okay, let's listen to
I'm
it.
in the Netflix documentary about the Murdaughs. If you've seen it, you've seen me show footage I got of Alec Murdaugh's brother and son carrying guns out of the home immediately following a search warrant that was performed at Moselle, the property that...
Yeah, so that was the day after the murders happened. So the day after the murders happened, Sled came back. They searched the Moselle property, right? And then after Sled left, that's when they carried the guns out of the home. Oh. Okay, guys. Well, that's it for the day. Oh, see you guys. Oh, man. Any last words? Anything else? Hey, Comer, what's going on? Any last words? Any last comments? Any questions? Are we good? Are we chilling? Today they let us out early. Yay! Early release day. I get so excited when we get out early. I forgot to post the day 2 of Alex Murdaugh's testimony over the weekend. It was sitting on my YouTube and I forgot to hit public. It was on private, so that's out today. So if you guys want to check it out for free. But other than that, if you guys missed the stream, I'll have the stream public as well. And then the stream is kind of out of order. Usually what I'll do is I'll rechop the video and I'll put it in order, like in sequential order. That way you're not like all over the place. But yeah, other than that, guys, we'll see you guys later. That's it for day 23 of the Alex Murdaugh trial. They're gonna have the jury. They're gonna go over to the Moselle property to see. I don't know if they're gonna just go to this area or if they're gonna go to like the actual house as well. What if they did the test where they get all the jury to be in the Moselle property and they shoot some guns just to see if the jury can hear it? Guilty, innocent. Thank you, Corgi. You're welcome. The officer removed the gun and the badge before the search. You think it'll be hung jury? Unfortunately, I think I think they'll get guilty. Yeah, I think they. I mean, I for sure believe he's guilty, but I think the jury can do guilty. I feel like it's not. Yeah, I think the jury would do guilty. But if it's hung or if it's not guilty, ooh, that'll be very interesting. We'll see what happens next. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you guys had fun. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. We make videos. And then I stream on Twitch as well. I do gaming stuff. And yeah, guys. I don't have much to say. I'm really tired. Have a happy Monday. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I'll see you guys later.